The following podcast may contain spoilers, strong language, graphic violence, and nudity. Viewer discretion is advised.
Would you like to play a game?
No.
Four guys and a movie. Four guys and a movie. Donnie, Brian, Rob, and Joe reviewing movies for the show. Four guys and a movie.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the 4am podcast, the movie podcast for dorks by dorks. I'm your host this week, Rob, joined by my friends
Brian.
Will.
Player 3.
Joe.
And we have a special guest because this is another series in our never-ending barrage of sponsored episodes. Say hello to the people, Eric.
Hello, I am Professor Falcon.
How the fuck does your pterodactyl fly, Professor Falcon? It doesn't make any sense.
I don't know. I'm not a paleontologist.
It's
You
a
really
glider.
needed a paleontologist to
Falls
explain how it flew.
gracefully.
Rob, how excited did you get when you saw that pterodactyl?
So, I'm not gonna lie, real excited.
I was like, whoa, this movie's taking a turn.
Yeah, he's like, this went from a 2 to a 10.
So did my pants.
Oh,
Ah.
2 to a 10.
oh, I
Get
got
it?
that.
Hey.
And I thought it was bad.
We watched WarGames because Eric told us to.
It's true.
Sponsored episode.
He paid us to.
He paid
Yeah,
us
that's
to.
true.
You are correct.
Money has to be involved.
I told you to with my money.
Professor Joe Jangles. You ever seen this movie before?
I have, yes, many times. I don't remember. I don't have any specific memories to it. I think we had it VHS of it growing up, and I don't know how many times I've seen it, but it was like all the nostalgia came back when I watched it.
Brian, you ever seen this?
Oh yeah, I saw this a bunch of times. It was one of those movies that like when I was a kid I was like intrigued by it so much. Like this was like, oh, you can do all kinds of cool things with computers.
Computers are the future.
Yeah, look at all these wires.
Will, have you ever seen this before?
No, this is the first time I've ever watched this. I was
You're
aware
not
of it.
alive yet, huh?
Nope. This is like early 80s, right?
Yeah.
83, yeah.
Back when
So-
your computer had to place a phone call to another computer.
Right,
This,
I did have
this
that.
still stank like the 70s, too.
As we discussed in the Stay Tuned episode, like, I guess just being a nerd in general, I was aware of the basic premise and plot and the famous line about playing a game. So I was kind of aware of the main story beats and all that kind of stuff. And
Have you read Ready Player One?
yeah, I was going to say I've read Ready Player One, and it plays a big part in that book. They didn't make it to the movie.
Everything
but
plays
yeah.
a big part in that book.
Yeah, it's true.
And nothing made it to the movie.
Yeah, the movie's garbage.
It's like Family Guy table scraps. Tony, you ever
Peter
seen
Griffin
this?
eating table scraps.
Eating Steven Spielberg's table scraps. Tony, you ever seen this film before?
Yeah, I've definitely seen it. Like, when this first came out, I was obviously just a young little foundling, so I didn't see it originally, but I saw it later on. It didn't have as much of an impact on me because by then computers had far surpassed all this, but I did appreciate it.
Okay. I don't know that I've seen this movie before. I somehow, when I thought about what this movie was, like, I think the plot of Top Secret came to my brain,
Wow.
but with Matthew Broderick somehow.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Is that on our list?
Top Secret with Matthew
Dude.
Broderick? That's on no one's list.
We're gonna make it today.
I got another 20.
All right. Yeah. Eric, tell us your history with this movie and why you chose it for us to watch.
WarGames just kind of randomly popped into my head of like, I should see what their take is on this movie. I remember, so first of all, I've only seen this movie twice, including the time that I just recently watched it for this podcast. But I remember it.
So you genuinely just pull the movie out of your ass.
No, not at all. Usually, if I have a very, if there's a movie that leaves a very significant impact, in a lot of cases, I will only watch it like once or twice because I remember so many of the details of it. I don't have a compulsory need to see it again. And I remembered pretty much all of the significant details for this movie, even though the last time I had seen it was maybe like 20 years ago.
Like when Broderick had his shirt off.
I
didn't mean to get you all flustered.
No, it was the opposite of flustered. So I did not remember that, and a couple of other things, but it was a very impactful movie because the way in which the message was delivered at the end, and specifically what the message was, kind of clicked for me. And I can talk at length about how a lot of the things that this movie kind of predicted even before machine learning was a thing is actually like really right on. And I remember when I was watching it just a few days ago, I was like, holy crap, this is almost in some ways, in a lot of cases, ahead of its time. They were spot on with a lot of things when it came to how machine learning works. So yeah, and also bad ideas that you can do with automation. So yeah, I thought of this movie because I was like, you know what, this, unlike other movies that I've been thinking of proposing, like means actually a pretty good amount to me. And I think it's a good movie, and I was genuinely interested to see what everybody else's opinion was on it.
So then, how about a historical history of this film?
Shit.
Yeah, that's you.
It came out in June of 1983. Director John Badham, who we of course will remember from previous episode Short Circuit. He also brought us Saturday Night Fever and Nick of Time. So yay on all of that.
So he does lots of movies with messages, huh?
Yeah,
Like,
good and bad.
Somebody has to stop John Travolta.
For real, please, someone do that.
Anyway, I guess the studio brought in actual arcade machines to Matthew Broderick's home for him to practice for 2 months prior to the movie for that one opening scene where he plays a video game. So
Galaga?
Yeah, yay! I guess good for him.
You could learn everything you need to know about Galaga with 1 quarter.
Yeah, it
Pew
sucks.
pew. Oh, I lost.
Yeah.
This is the first cinematic reference to a firewall, long before Harrison Ford got to start screaming about it.
At the checkout line in Subway.
The tunnel shots running in and out of NORAD. That was the same tunnel that they used to get into Toontown, and of course the tunnel from Back to the Future or Back to the Future 2 or whatever it was. The original inspiration for Professor Falcon was Stephen Hawking, who was actually asked to be in the movie, but he was afraid that it would look bad on him, and they would try to exploit his disability. So
Probably
he
a good
decided
call.
not to.
Yeah, this also wasn't really his wheelhouse. That's interesting that they wanted to choose him, but it's also like, why did they want to choose him for that?
Just a smart guy. That's all.
Famous scientist.
Yeah.
I guess.
It also
yeah.
would have been really weird when he came into the helicopter.
Yeah.
But then after, he turned them down, or perhaps even before, I wasn't able to find out specifics, but there was thoughts of getting John Lennon to play the part, but of course he was killed shortly after, writing was completed on the script. So that's unfortunate. What else? And the scene towards the end of the movie, spoiler alert, when they're trying to get into NORAD and they bust through the gate, that was all wrong. They were originally supposed to just drive through the gate, typical, action movie style, bust it open and drive on through.
No, they fucking
the car.
crashed for real.
Oh yeah, well that's it.
Okay.
They actually crashed the car, and they were just like, fuck it, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
And just filmed a scene of them running out.
I was thinking about that because it kind of hits that guardrail kind of lacklusterly. So I'm like, that looked kind of crappy, and then the thing just fucking fell over. So it was probably like they were not in control.
Oh yeah, not at all.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm watching, I'm like, I felt bad for the stunt people in that car because that did not look like a planned stunt. Like it looked way too fucking like holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, everyone, just Have the main actors now just sit in the van and pretend to fall over.
Where that tunnel that you were talking about before, was that just a movie set that they've reused, or was that actually at a location somewhere?
Yeah,
it's the tunnel to Toontown. They just repurposed it for.
Right,
No,
but
yes,
I didn't know if they
famous
shot the
tunnel
scene.
in California.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So it is an actual real tunnel.
Yeah, they had to
Okay.
pay all of the cartoons $50 a piece to like stay out of the tunnel for a day. but
Okay.
Had to
They
pay
managed
off
yeah.
the judge,
Yeah.
Judge Doom.
And there was actually some problems because Wile E. Coyote kept painting it in different spots to try and catch the Roadrunner. But
Okay.
got
That caused the initial Jeep crash.
yeah,
Yeah.
Also,
That's what
to throw
Matthew
this-
Broderick hit.
throw this in. Speaking of realness leaking into the movie, when there's that joke about sexual reproduction or asexual reproduction rather in the
Classic.
classroom, yeah, that laughter you can hear was not the kids. That was the crew that was not told what the punchline to that joke was and just found it fucking hilarious. So the director was like, "Yeah, we're just gonna leave that in there." All right.
Your wife, sir?
Well,
I am a sexual dynamo.
I'm singing in the rain. All right. So, do you want to guess how much money this movie cost to make?
his Will Byers looking ass. Tell me I'm wrong,
More like Jonathan.
Jonathan.
This
Jonathan
movie
Byers.
cost 82. 83. I will say this movie was $13 million.
10.
Oh, $1.
$1 million.
Wow.
Oh, bitch.
I'll go with 12 mil.
Wow. Well done, Brick. It was $12 million.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Right on the money. Want to guess how much it made?
$18 million.
$25 million.
Okay, 20 million.
15.
21 mil.
79.
79 mil.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
Good.
Nice.
Now, to be fair, I'm not always sure with some of these if that includes like re-releases and such.
hmm
So it might not have made that on its first run, but
Was there a sequel?
No.
well,
Like direct to video or something?
yeah, there's a direct
Okay.
video. I don't know if it's an actual. It shares the namesake. I haven't
Gotcha.
seen it, so I
Okay.
think it's a sequel.
Yeah. This would be a tough one to sell me on for a sequel. Where
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
so that thing that almost destroyed the world, yeah, they just did it again.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
maybe the
Yeah.
Russians come and kidnap him.
There should not be a sequel to this
Yeah,
movie. It's
unless it was in Russia and
Right.
with a whole different cast.
It's
I
a-
mean, that would be kind of like the sequel to Hackers, where it's not even the same movie. It's just
Mhm.
it shares the subject matter. It's,
I think a sequel to this would be more of if the kid, Broderick's character, doesn't learn and hacks some other type of bullshit. You know, like he's in trouble doing some other kind of hacking shit. You know, maybe a financial something or other. You know what I mean? Like
Called the
So
Net.
something more
Or-
like how like Da Vinci Code has Angels and Demons and Digital Fortress and all that, where it's the same character getting into the same shenanigans, just in a different place
yeah,
with the
different-
world on the line.
they
Or
should.
it's
I would
like
also-
A prequel.
I would
Mhm.
also kind of accept if like it took place minutes after, and the computer was just like, on second thought, never mind, and just nukes them all, and you have to deal with the fallout.
They
Then it's
fired the
just
missile
Terminator
straight up in the
Salvation.
air, like they come back down on the U.S.
Yeah.
Tic-tac-toe sucks. Your head explode. All right, let's everybody get their corn and butter sandwich ready, and let's
Oh yeah, we got to
who's
talk
in this
about
movie?
that.
Oh yeah.
So you got this guy Matthew Broderick. Rob is not really fond of him.
I don't. I have nothing against Matthew Broderick.
I don't believe you.
Of course, when it's time to do the cast list, this is when Oliver, one of the dogs, decides that he wants to chew on my drum set. What do you have there?
that dog in the movie was trying to hump on Ali Sheedy.
Yeah, that dog was awesome.
What, Matthew Broderick?
I don't blame him.
Yeah,
Like
no, he was oblivious.
when they first meet that dog, it was doing the I'm gonna wrap my leg around your leg kind of motion. It was doing it a bunch of times. And she was like, no. Like,
All right. So you got Matthew Broderick, who Rob really doesn't like. You got Ali
I have
Sheedy,
nothing
who,
against Matthew
as
Broderick.
far as I can tell, always plays a crazy person. As Jennifer.
Oh,
Well,
what?
I'm not going to make that assumption about her because I don't know anything about Ali Sheedy other than she always plays a crazy person.
Yeah.
All right, you got Barry Corbin, General Carville himself, playing General Behringer. I think this guy is always a general in everything he's in.
Yes.
You got
General.
Dabney Coleman, of You Can't See That. You can't say that on television fame as McKittrick, and
It's
John
what he's
Wood
best known
as
for.
Dr. Falcon.
Got a
All right.
Michael Madsen cameo. First thing.
That
And
was
a
Michael
William H.
Madsen,
Macy
wasn't
in
it?
there.
Wait,
That,
what?
those were. That was them.
Who? What? What? When? Huh?
The very first scene in the Arctic lab is Michael
Turn your key,
Madsen,
sir.
and then John Spencer, I think is the actor's name. He was like
Yes.
in The West Wing.
All right. So
Where
yeah,
was
so
William H. Macy? Sorry.
I don't
didn't see that.
remember. He was some like background character. Like he's not even listed in the credits. I don't think.
I mean, I like that they got the hotel guy from Ghostbusters in here, but that's
It's like this movie has a lot of people
A
Yep,
that
ton.
did a lot of other shit after
it's
this.
got the bald guy that always plays the school principal or
Yes.
the authority
Yep.
figure.
Yeah,
He was in Back to the Future, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
The rich
Knew I
man's
recognized
Donald Pleasance.
like this
Mhm.
is like the '80s. That guy from that movie. Like everyone,
Yeah,
that guy
exactly.
from that movie in the '80s.
Yeah.
All right. So this movie starts off, and you could tell we're in the 80s, right? Because these two guys, they drive up to some random house in like a sandstorm, and they show their little secret passes through a mirror, and they get in and are immediately handed firearms before anything else is discussed. They're like, "Here's your pistols." So they do that. They go down into this elevator and talk about one of their moms or wives can do some sort of garden sorcery and open up this big ass door, and two other guys get out, and these two go in. And you could also tell you're in the 80s because the computers are gigantic and there's blinky lights everywhere and an impossible amount of buttons.
Yeah, it's a whole room just for them to play Pong.
Yeah.
All of the
Essentially.
buttons. All the
So
buttons chunk when
Inside
you
of an
push them.
Atari.
Yeah. So, all right, these guys are basically, they're like, Minutemen there to spend a shift, making sure that they're ready to launch nuclear missiles at an order. And an order comes, and the blonde one of the two cannot turn the key. Michael Madsen, he's a cold motherfucker. He's like, I'll nuke everyone. I don't care.
Like, as someone who had not seen this movie before and didn't know like how it started, this
Mhm.
scene was like fucking cool and intense. I thought.
Yeah.
It really was, yeah.
Because I had no idea if this was going to say like cut back and be like 3 days earlier, or if this was like the end result of anything, or if these characters were going to play a bigger deal in the movie. But I was like kind of like, oh shit, like he pulled his pistol out and was going to shoot the guy in the back of the head because he wasn't going to turn the key. I don't know. I was just very impressed off the bat with this.
And I like the showing the procedure for arming the missile and the encryption and all of that. And I like that, like right when the launch order comes in, everyone is immediately super sweaty.
Yeah, immediately.
Immediately. So
I mean,
yeah, he fucking
I would be.
Yep,
Yeah.
Right? Like fuck.
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, Captain Blonde does not want to fire his missile, and so
He
Michael
suspects there's
Madsen's like,
something off.
yeah, Michael Madsen's like, that's not the procedure, sir. Turn your
Mhm.
key. And so I don't get what the point of the gun is, because you could point that at
Right.
Captain Blonde guy and be like, I'll kill you. But if you do, you're not launching the missile,
Right.
Because
no,
there's no way
Joe.
you're reaching across the room. What?
No, it's a water gun. It's like a cat.
Oh,
You just
okay,
gotta-
yeah.
You just keep
I will
spraying 'em.
spray you for the next 24 hours if you don't
I
fire
think-
that missile.
Yeah.
They should
Fire
have.
it! Fire it! Fire it!
I think the reason for it was either as a threat, like a lethal threat,
Mhm.
even though like you're completely right. But I think it's like, if you don't do your duty, I'm going to kill you. So you aren't between do or do not. You're deciding between do or die.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I was thinking of, if there was any indication, because that was, I think, back when the Red Scare was like a
Mhm.
thing, and I think if there was any indication that you might be locked in that room with an infiltrator, you'd take him out before he could do anything to you.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
There could have been a couple of different reasons, but like everybody was on edge back then, especially in the military and especially in a nuke bunker. So
yeah, either way,
or to end things if
times.
it looked like things were going to go bad for the U.S.
And I
Either
will
way-
actually mention about this scene, something similar actually happened in Russia in real life, very similar to this. And the commanding officer was like, this doesn't seem to make sense. The system that we're getting the information from is brand new. I don't think that this is legitimate. And he made the decision not to launch nukes at the US. So like that scene actually has some semblance to reality.
Was it a test there, or was it a mistake or something?
No, it was an actual glitch. Like they did find later that there was a bug in either software
Jesus.
or hardware. Yeah,
Oh.
and they almost launched nukes at the U.S. and it was that one commanding officer that did not follow protocol because he was like, this does not make sense. There was no provocation there. All the things that we know about how this will probably happen didn't happen.
Yeah.
One of the indicators that he had was it showed only one ICBM was coming from the US and then 3 more. And he was like, if they were going to do it, they would do it to make sure that we're gone. They're not going to send even 4, several thousand. And he was like, this doesn't make any sense. I don't trust it. So like that was an actual close call.
Jeez.
Yeah, scary as hell.
So, basically, the whole point is that humans have consciences, and some of them refuse to fire the missiles. So
let's take that right out.
Yeah. So we go to NORAD.
Fuck them.
Yeah, we cut to NORAD before Stargate moved in and took it over, and we meet like Dr. McKittrick, and I'm immediately like, nobody say I don't know or water. Because there's a lot of expensive electronics in here, and I don't want slime dumped on them. But I like, as they're walking around NORAD, it shows the springs that are in that structure. Because NORAD is the largest building on springs in the world.
That we know of.
That we know of, yeah. Because it has all the shock absorbers to absorb a nuclear blast. So I thought that was a cool touch. And you get the Secretary of Defense, you got General Behringer, you got the computer guy, Dr. McKittrick, and they're like, so here's the part where it's like, okay, we have to have a movie, so you have to suspend some disbelief. So the answer to the problem of 22% of our people won't fire the missiles is we have a lot of missiles. So if 22% refuse to fire, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I believe the U.S. had the ability to destroy the Soviet Union. It was either 5 or 7 times over, like to just do a complete destruction of it, and then 6 more times if it needed to.
Yeah.
So, like, if 22% are like, whatever, I'm not going to do it, then it doesn't make a difference. But anyway, so to have a movie though,
great.
they're like, okay, why don't we get this computer that once the president gives the order, the computer just does everything, and you don't got to worry about anything. It'll fire all the missiles. It'll be real cool. And,
Now, go ahead.
yeah, General Behringer is like, this is a shitty idea. I want to be on the record with that. And like basically the rest of the movie is just him going like, I told you.
Now you say that about like we should have a movie now, so we're going to not apply reason here, but that is an actual legitimate system that actually exists. Russia's nuke system has a system called a dead hand. Its name is Perimeter, and it will automate the assured mutual destruction in the event that the Russian command is eliminated. The way that they set it up is it's normally offline, quote unquote, but like there's still circuits and things, so it's not like it doesn't exist. It's just not quote unquote active. It's almost like you could say that it's not armed, but if it's armed, basically they need to continuously send some kind of a command that says don't fire the missiles.
Yeah,
and
it
if they
becomes a
don't,
dead man switch.
Yeah.
basically, yeah.
My version of the dead hand's a little different.
Oh. Oh,
Is that where you sit on your hand for a while?
okay.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Call that a stranger.
the way perimeter is designed, according to what I read on Wikipedia. So take that with all due salt.
Yep.
When it's enabled, it will pay attention to seismic, light, and I think temperature sensors throughout Russia. So it does actually have to. They talk a lot about in this movie later on about high confidence. It does collect some data to indicate that they were actually hit and that command is not sending signals, not responsive. So like design wise, they did it as responsibly as they could. But at the end of the day, it's still an automated system designed to ensure the mutual destruction of probably the majority of the northern hemisphere of the globe, which will end up propagating to the rest of the globe.
It's called a petty switch. That's all it is. A petty switch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But can someone
and-
explain to me why we need a middleman at all?
What
Well-
do you mean? Like, so you're saying like the president just pushes a button and all the missiles fire?
Yeah.
Yeah, think about that statement for a
Yeah.
second, Tony. And then you'll,
There's a
much
couple
answer
reasons
you'll
why we
get.
don't do
No,
that.
no. I understand there's problems with that, but like what they're doing is they're like, all right, well, the president wants to fire missiles, so he sends a signal. So we send it to two guys who have to hit a switch or whatever, but we found that's unreliable. So instead we put it so the president says, hey, I want to fire a missile. He sends that information to a smart computer, which will then fire the missiles. Like, why, at that point, why don't you just make it so the president hits a button and it fires the missiles?
Well, that's basically what the computer does.
Yeah,
Like the president's
yeah.
like, do it, and it just finishes for him.
Yeah, but it's putting
So
a
Tony-
smart
Tony's
computer in
argument-
charge of them.
Yeah, so Tony's argument is if you're going to have the computer there to just do it, then why have the computer there at all?
So, because the computer has run so many simulations of how missiles would come in and what would be destroyed that it would know the optimal way
Yeah.
to respond, which is a little silly only because it's like there's so many missiles, you're just going to win.
Yeah.
Like, you're just
Yeah.
going to blow the whole world up.
Yeah,
But, I think in case, like, all of the missiles that would target Moscow somehow got destroyed, so, like, it's going to blow up everything else but Moscow, the computer would realize, like, okay, I'll redirect one that was going to Leningrad to go to Moscow or something like that.
So is it fair to say you will win in this scenario?
no.
The
No.
movie's about that.
I think this is the plot of the movie.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
And
I'm just
that is
Joe
the
was
thing
just
is-
like, yeah, you're gonna win. Like,
That's the scary thing about
Well, you're-
mutually assured
You're going to win at the
destruction.
objective of destroying the opponent,
Yeah.
but you're
Yeah.
not going to win at...
oh, I
at-
know what you meant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just occurred to me that initial scene of like the pistol, turn your key, sir. Like at that point, if an incoming total destruction strike was already inbound, you're dead anyway.
Yeah.
And at that point, you're gonna die. But it's a question of, are they going to pay for it? Those
Yeah.
who fired it.
It's
So
a petty
that's
switch.
the scary thing about mutually assured destruction is that there is no winning scenario
Yeah,
anywhere.
we all
in
is gonna
that.
die.
Yeah.
We're all gonna die, and the only thing about that remains as a question is the party that started it going to get away with it? And that's, if you think
Well,
about that too long,
no-
that takes you
No
to a
one's going
really
to be
dark
left
place.
to hold them accountable.
Yeah. So it's a great way to highlight some of the worst aspects of humanity. Thinking about that.
Because that's what we need right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we got this computer. It's called the Whopper. It's got a happy face on the side of it. It makes cool noises. It's the War Operations Plan Response Computer. It is named
Push
after
the Whopper button.
what is currently my favorite of the big three fast food sandwiches, but only because it's the only one that comes in a vegetarian configuration. So I would say under normal circumstances, it would probably be the worst of the three. I don't know. Where do you guys rank it with the Big Mac? I'm assuming that you put the Wendy's sandwich on the top, right?
Are we talking
which-
about like
which-
a Dave's double?
sandwich?
Dave's double? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Dave's
Oh,
double
yeah.
number one.
Yeah. I mean, I was always, back in the day, the Big Mac was my jam, but that's because I like Thousand Island dressing.
Mhm.
But
There's only one of those sandwiches I would fornicate with, and it's the Dave's
it's
double.
Dave's double.
Last time I got a Big Mac, it was just like wet and droopy and sad.
Yeah, I tried one of y'all's Big Macs fairly recently over the summer, and honestly, just was like a disgusting salt parade.
Yeah.
Like McDonald's changed the Big Mac like 20 years ago
Mm.
to where it's like the patty is like not even worth getting. You know what I mean?
No, it's tiny.
It's
Yeah,
tiny. It's
alright.
not worth it. I stopped getting Big Macs in high school. Like I was like, oh
Alright.
no, this is done.
So we're
Joe's regretting
saying
having asked the question.
no. So we're saying that the Whopper is named after the second tier sandwich then of the big three, the computer.
I would say so.
Okay.
See,
At the time, it was
I've-
probably close to number one, right?
The Whopper is like a flat, drippy mess, but
Mhm.
like it's got that kind of smoky flavor to it, and yeah, I mean, assuming you place your order and you actually get a Whopper if you order one, because it is an absolute
So,
crapshoot.
so
yeah,
I've never
I'm-
had Dave's double decker or whatever.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
having
that's
trouble remembering the configuration.
But
of
when
that
I was
myself.
when I was a meat eater, probably about 20 years ago or so, was the last time I've had a Big Mac, and I loved those. And I distinctly remember like crispy shredded lettuce and the
Mhm.
cheese and the Thousand Island dressing and it being huge. And I remember one time I had 3 of those in a row with a
Nice.
medium fry and a medium soft
That's
drink.
good stuff.
And then half an hour later, I had an entire box of pasta.
Okay.
And 20 years later, now I'm on a diet because I got addicted to carbs. And I can't do that anymore.
Yeah, hold on to that memory because those
Mhm.
times are gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my memory of a Big Mac.
Also,
So-
for those that want to know, if you're going to McDonald's, if you're forced to do that, quarter pounder's the way to go.
Yeah, those I have good memories of those too. They're cheap, they're simple, like done.
Just describe me.
Yeah.
Also,
So
did you know this was actually named for the burger?
Well,
no, it's WOPR. It's definitely not
Yeah.
named after the burger.
No, but it is. In my
Oh.
research,
Dear me.
NORAD has a computer that very much like the one depicted in this movie that's called the BRGR.
Mm-hmm.
So they interpreted that as burger. So for the movie, they decided to call it the WOPR for the
Nice.
Whopper. So it's
Nice.
Whopper Burger.
That's kind of like in Space Odyssey 2001. HAL is actually a shift cipher for IBM because if you move the letters for IBM one position, it becomes HAL.
Nice.
So,
I like it.
speaking of cool computers, we're in a fucking arcade. Man, I miss those.
Yeah.
Even though I would just shovel so much money into those machines, yet now with an emulator, you can do all of that in your home. There was something nice about going to an arcade and seeing like the big ass cabinet and just being like, whoa. And then like the cool
Yeah.
kid would be like rocking the game. And you're like, I'm going to watch that kid play that game.
Having your
Yeah,
eardrums
go,
rupture at a
kid.
young age because of all the volume in there.
Mhm.
And everything is sticky and fuzzy at the same time.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Giggity.
So we meet David, our main character. He's playing some Galaga. Before school in the morning, I call bullshit.
Yeah, and like there's a ton of fucking kids in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, like how early was that place open?
He just
Yeah,
leaves.
exactly.
He leaves that younger kid in there. Guess he's not going to
Timid
school.
command, yeah. So David is late to school and he's failing science. Teacher immediately goes for the shame spell, whips out the F paper, displays that proudly
Yeah, that
for the whole
was-
class.
That was
It's super
pretty,
effective.
Pretty
Yeah.
harsh.
So David ain't having that though, because teacher's like, let's talk about asexual reproduction. And I forgot how did he set it up? He was like, what it was
Who
like.
Who first suggested asexual?
Oh yeah, he's like your wife. Oh
Yeah, reproduction without sex.
Yep, that gets you a trip to the principal's office. But that was David's plan all along.
I hated
Because-
that when like a teacher would be a dick and then you would like be a dick back and they're like, oh, we can't have that in my classroom.
Well, that teaches you a life lesson. There's some
I-
people that are going to be dicks to you, and you
Right.
can't be dicks back to them.
Also,
Life
only
is
go
harsh.
to only
is
go
it
to
okay if-
actual schools and not.
Is
like,
it okay if I tell you a brick history story? I'll be brief.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, you should say uh-oh.
Story
this
time
was-
with Brick. Here we go.
This was an awful brick history time. So kindergarten, before first grade, I would get in trouble a lot, and there was a timeout like on the other side of the room, basically. So I was very familiar with that area. And one day when I was in trouble, I was like, I don't feel like going over there. And the teacher made the mistake. And those of you who have experienced talking to me enough know that I tend to take things literally if I'm not confident that I can read between the lines. So she made the mistake of saying, I will take you there if I have to drag you. And in my brain, I was like, oh, that's an option. Why am I walking? And I just stopped walking. And then she started to drag me, but like, because she wasn't expecting me to do that, she literally did a forward roll like a dumpling. And the entire class erupted in laughter. And yeah, that was my experience in kindergarten.
Then she punched you until she passed out from exhaustion.
Probably wanted to. But like,
But
she said, I'll take you there if I have to drag you. And I was like, all right.
But Brick had a plan, because when he got to the principal's office, he knows where the school keeps its password.
Right.
Got a friggin' infiltrator on the inside for hacking into this. And yeah, so the password's fucking pencil. And he gets a ride home from Ali Sheedy's character, who's just like, I'm the girl in this movie.
Yeah,
And,
Drive a motorcycle.
yeah.
I do have to say, like, a few times on this, I've noticed and come to the defense of females in 80s movies.
Uh-huh.
Because, like, Karate Kid, she
Yep.
she was actually standing up for herself, and of course we got like Ripley and stuff like that. This is the prime example of everything wrong with the female portrayal in movies, because she is just nothing. There's
just along
nothing
for the
to
ride.
her. Yeah, she's just, I'm in love with you for seemingly no reason.
There's a crazy face along for the ride. I'll say that.
Yeah.
I don't have a thought in my head.
Yep. And
Well,
she's like,
I mean,
I'm
throughout
super
the
into
movie-
you for no reason.
Yeah.
Throughout the movie, the thoughts in her head were like, okay, let's just do it. So she is like the spirit behind Nike. Like, she just, all right, let's go for it.
But
She's
it's
David
not
Drive
even
a motorcycle on a
consistent with
sidewalk.
that.
Let's go for it. Like, let's
Yeah.
swim 3 miles. Let's go
But-
for it. Like,
Even that is not consistent. Like, at one point, she's like, why did we do this and whatever, but then like you cut back to when they were doing it and she's like, yeah, bomb them,
Oh,
kill them all.
yeah.
And then like when they're talking on the phone, she's like, yeah, we just gotta keep this quiet and it will be fine. I'm gonna go tell my friends. And it's like, what the fuck medication are you on,
Yeah.
lady?
None. That's kind of the problem.
So
She's on none medication.
like David, like even unintentionally even just works this game where he's like, oh, I'm gonna pass biology. Want to see how? Let's go to my bedroom. Boom. Immediate.
I've used
Like-
that line a bunch of times.
Mm-hmm. Frickin' Bo the dog shows up. He's super cute. I like that. You can tell he's a good boy because they just leave him in the front yard. Like
Mhm.
I didn't see like an invisible fence or anything. Like they just leave him outside and he's cool
Yeah.
with it.
This was 83. There was no such thing as an invisible
Yeah.
fence.
Yeah, when you were a kid, you just get attacked by dogs.
All right.
So-
So my question to the group:
Yep.
did any of your parents allow you to lock your bedroom door?
Yes.
No. That was one thing that I was watching this with Chelsea, and she immediately pointed out, was like, who gets to lock their bedroom door?
Yeah,
Me-
I was fascinated. Like, who the fuck?
Yeah.
My door was almost always locked.
Yeah, but you were always the only one in it.
That is pretty much.
And it was your
true,
parents
yes.
locking you in, right?
Yes, locked from the outside.
No. They tried that once, and then they realized that they lived on the second floor and I lived on the first. So I
So
I
the
opened
fire
the
would go
screen.
up.
I opened the screen from the window from the inside and would just go out when I was
Nice.
the one and only time that I was grounded, and they were like, "Yeah, this is gonna work."
So, all right. He's got the school's password. He's got what passes for a modem in 1983, and it's basically you actually put your phone receiver on this crazy thing, and it calls up the school, and he changes his biology grade from an F to a C, and then goes and wants to change Jennifer's here. That's Ali Sheedy's character. And she's like, no. And then he changes it anyway after she leaves.
He's a
So
dick.
she was like super into this, and then was suddenly like, "I don't want to do this anymore," and leaves, which is fine. She could have a change of conscience.
Yeah, but
then she
again,
changes again.
yeah, like I said,
Yeah.
what medication are you on, or should you be on?
I will note a kind of technology note that modem thing was a real thing.
Yep.
This was like even before I started messing around with computers. For those who are old enough to remember the AOL sound when you
Oh, yeah.
first
Mhm.
connect, that screeching. Back in the day, that screeching was actually a lot less fast, and computers communicated at such a slow speed that you could just do it through tones. So you would literally have the computer connected to a handset, and it would be talking into this modem, and it would be communicating that way. And the baud rate for that must have been atrocious, because when I first started, it was like 1400 baud, and you'd be sitting there for a good hour to download like a 1 megabyte file. It's just even
So-
longer.
At this speed over the phone, do you think would it be possible for a person to just make the noises,
Um,
transfer data that way, and speak to a computer?
Actually, that is actually that is a legitimate thing that used to happen. People were able to whistle at specific pitches to be able to emulate the dial tones and touch tones for phones.
Yeah.
And that entire scene is referred to as phreaking, Phreaking. And there are also tone generators that people would use to give signals into the plain old telephone system, also known as POTS.
Oh, like that dude
so-
from Police Academy.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
say.
yeah. If you had Michael Winslow, you'd be all set.
Well,
I mean,
there were
you don't even need
multiple
to-
people who could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was in high school, I knew a kid that used to know how to like whistle or somehow make the tones
Yep.
into the phone to get long distance service for free.
Damn.
Like that was all real before
Yep.
they started introducing measures to prevent people from cheating the system.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of those things used to be very legitimately real. I'm glad
So-
that they're all patched.
I also
I want to give what's her face some credit though, because she's the only one in this movie, well, compared to him, that actually thought of consequences to shit. 'Cause
Yeah.
she was like, we shouldn't do this because we get in
Sometimes.
trouble, and that's why she backed out. It wasn't like she's dumb. She's like, no, like
Yeah.
we can get in trouble, and like it can
Yeah.
be worse for me if we get in trouble.
I
He
will
was
give you-
like, fuck it, and does what he wants, and look at what happened.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I also
So-
like when they first get into his room, he seemingly has like it's not just dirty clothes everywhere. It seems to be the full outfit, which seems to be the same exact thing that he's wearing at that moment. Like he's
Well,
a
it's like
cartoon
Dexter's Lab.
character.
Yeah.
Yeah. He
You
he's
open
got
the
a
closet
whole-
and it's the same thing.
But it's like the full
Full
thing.
array
Like
of the
there's
same
a
wardrobe.
pair of jeans, a pair of underwear, a shirt, the same colors, just
Yeah.
everywhere throughout
What
his
do
room.
your clothes piles look like, Tony?
I was gonna say,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was just
Now,
about
in
to
all-
say
Rob,
too,
in all
like
fairness,
Pretty
he's wearing the
crispy, I
same
bet.
clothes all the time, so it don't really matter.
Yeah.
when I was in high school, I literally only wore black. So that could have very easily been my room, except I never left clothes all over the place. I don't know why that's a thing that people do. I never did that, so I don't understand it when I see it.
Well,
I don't
because
understand you,
use-
Brick. So
Yeah.
You just use
Oh, yeah.
latex body paint, whereas other people go and like buy fabric clothing.
And yeah, if you want to know, like if I have something like that, it'd be like one pile in one corner, and whites and colors would be separated. So fuck you.
I don't even do that. I put them
Yeah,
all
no.
together.
That's a
I
lie
have-
that our
I have
parents
one
told us. You don't
artist
need to do
diverse.
that shit.
Ironically enough, like my kicking around clothes are in my dresser, but my work clothes are just in a pile that I
Oh,
fish
yeah.
them out of.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
My work clothes are just piled on top of my dresser.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Rob and Tony,
Um,
did y'all share a room?
Yeah.
How's
Now,
that?
no.
No, they both managed to live under a staircase.
It's true.
We got like a double Harry Potter
we were
situation.
double
Yeah.
Harry Potters.
Yep.
Well,
Still waiting on
shared
those
a
letters.
We shared a room until like our early teens, maybe like 13 or something. I don't remember how.
Yeah, I don't quite remember. Somewhere around there.
He's
When were
blocked out
you
most
cast? Yeah, when were you cast to the dungeon?
I don't quite remember. Probably around 13 or so.
He wasn't cast. He left on his own. He was like, "Fuck you guys. I'm going to where I feel safe."
Well,
Yeah, it's a little combi,
Judo.
little combi.
It was a petition signed by the neighborhood, really.
So,
That's a cat.
at this point, we see that Whopper is put in charge of all of the missiles, and the chairs are taken out of the missile bunkers, and like Captain Blondor, who couldn't pull the trigger, is looking at the technician installing Whopper and is like, "You motherfucker!" And then the guy's like, "Well, you couldn't pull the trigger, so this is what you get. Get out of here." So.
I feel bad for that dude because like, dude, I'm just, it's my job. Just I don't know what the fuck I'm even doing. Just leave me alone.
So
just get reassigned. That's all. It's the military.
Yeah.
You're not like
Yeah.
you're not getting fired.
yeah.
Oh, you're not
So-
going anywhere, pal.
Yeah. Now we cut to the crucial dinner scene, which we have a lot to talk about here. So first, David sees this ad for Protovision. They're coming out with some new games. They're based in California. He's like, "Oh, I'm going to get me those games."
It doesn't say anything about the games. There's no
Nope.
list. There's no
No,
pictures.
no,
games.
this was the early '80s. That was all you got, and you had
Yeah.
it.
Well, it
There
was a
are
teaser.
some new things.
That's
Yeah,
the events had to build for a while.
Yeah, it was a teaser, and if you're kind of like a hacker-minded person, and you're like, if you say that I can't get it until you tell me that I'm just going to try and get it now. That's
Yeah.
basically how I read
want
that.
them
He was
games.
just like, I'm going to go after that.
It's called Chinese factory samples, and it happens all the time. It's not.
Yeah.
But it did specifically say, like, it was like, hey, we got new games for you. You'll find out at Christmas.
Yep.
Shut up.
All
If
right.
your parents
so-
have money.
all right. We got more
Yeah.
important shit to talk about.
Mhm.
All right. So this corn situation, we got to go to Fat Jack Court here.
Corn,
So-
corn and butter
All right.
sandwiches.
First off, this man introduced me to a whole new idea I never even thought of.
ingenious.
Just buttering the shit out of a piece of bread and then using that to butter your corn.
Yeah.
Like that is
Fuck
so. Yeah, that's so next level. I
You
don't know
just
yes.
hold
why
it like
that.
you're lathering up your dick or
Yeah,
something.
I don't know why that. I mean,
Like
it
it's a
would work.
washcloth
It would
full of
totally
butter.
Yeah.
work if you did that. Like it
Yeah.
has multiple applications. Like
Oh,
why did that not
Yep.
become standard operating procedure from this point forward? Like, but
Yeah.
no, this knowledge was left behind in the '80s. I felt mad that I
And
didn't.
then you got
know
a piece of
that.
toast.
Yeah. I'm honestly a little disappointed that, like, all of us have seen this movie and none of us have taken this up as a thing to do.
Exactly.
I've not seen
Now hold on,
it.
hold on. When I was a kid,
Yeah.
I didn't actually like corn on the cob.
Mm.
Were you eating it
So-
raw?
No, I didn't like corn. Period.
Yeah. Were you
didn't like it.
eating it? Were you buttering it with a piece of bread?
I didn't like corn. I wasn't gonna try it. I didn't
Yeah,
like
Well,
corn.
here's the
Like,
thing.
The people-
Well,
Maybe
well,
you
if
just
you
hadn't
had,
put enough
yeah.
butter on it.
Exactly.
and I haven't
Now-
seen this movie since I was a kid.
Yeah.
So no wonder why I didn't put two and two together because I had already blocked it out when I was.
I
a kid.
blame the next part
Yeah.
of the scene for a lot of this.
Yeah.
Now, did
So,
y'all
now-
when y'all ate corn on the cob growing up? Did y'all have the little things you would stick in the ends?
Yes. Yep.
God,
Yeah.
and then I'd always take those out and poke
Yeah,
my
and
sister.
they'd always fuck up. Like I would just like for my brother and I, they were throwing knives essentially.
Yeah, like little shurikens.
But all right, that piece of bread when you're done, that's got to be so good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah.
I want to get corn on the cob just to try that. But anyway, so now shit goes south because all right,
Real
he's
fast.
buttered up his corn, he's ready to go. The corn's friggin' raw. What the hell is that?
Yeah.
It's
All right.
crunchy.
If the corn's raw, there's got to be bits of husk left in it. Like,
If not,
So-
she went through a lot of work to not cook it.
yeah.
Here's the one thing I don't get:
What's that?
how could it have been raw if it melted the butter?
Yep.
Well, did it melt the butter?
Yeah, it might not have melted that butter.
Maybe
It was
that's
just
why
spread-
he decided to do the bread
The
because he's
sheer
like, wait,
pressure
this butter's
of
not
that
melting.
man's death grip melted the butter.
Yeah, he might have just.
Yeah.
It could have also been like
You
it
know
could
how
have been
exciting it was?
margarine too. You know,
Yeah.
like it,
Mm.
it's the '80s.
You know
That
what?
is true.
I think,
That is
I
true.
think it was. It was from a tub.
Yeah, it could be some country.
Oh, either
crop
way,
shit.
the way he
Some
was
country
spreading
crock?
it, that
Mm.
corn was getting buttered regardless.
Yeah, like
All right.
that was sexual repression that was coming out.
So, all right, fucking, this guy is like the inspiration for Mike's dad from Stranger Things, but like, I mean, I would have just thrown the corn right at my wife. I don't even
Oh, yeah.
care. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
Bounce it
no,
off her
you
head.
don't do that. She's like, oh, it's healthier now. You get more vitamins and like, yeah. And he's like, we'll take the pill. All right, does she get a yellow card or a red card
For
for not
not
having
cooking
some
That's a
raw
red
corn?
card.
Serving raw
and
corn.
passing it off?
That's
What
a
is
red
that?
card.
That's
what's
an
the difference
injection right
between
there.
yellow and red? because butter's
That's when
yellow,
Gordon
so-
Ramsay comes in.
Yellow's a warning.
Yeah,
Red's
it's
you're out.
raw. Yeah,
Wait,
Gordon
wait,
Ramsay would.
wait. Rick, do you
What?
drive?
Do I drive? Yeah.
Why don't you know this?
Because it's a soccer reference.
Yeah,
Rick-
that's what I thought you were
Rick
talking
does
about. It was a
sports.
soccer reference.
Well,
Yeah.
no, I get that, but like, if you drive, you should still understand yellow versus red. Like,
All right.
slow down versus stop.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, we'll put it
I
to you
wasn't
this way.
assuming that they were direct parallels.
It's
Okay,
pretty universal.
we'll make it easy for you. How do you feel if you pee and it's yellow?
Like I need to drink more.
Okay, well, how do you feel if you pee and it's red?
Like I need to go to the emergency room.
Okay, so there you go.
That-
One is more extreme than the other.
Well
Alright.
done, Rob. All right. So anyway, yeah, no, that's an
Oh,
ejection.
that's the better. All right.
Yeah.
Shush.
That's an ejection. She's sleeping on the couch that night.
Yeah.
I will give you that.
Like,
Because it's one thing to be like, oh, we're having raw corn tonight. It's another thing to be like, I'm not going to tell you till it's in your fucking mouth.
Yeah, because the reaction to we're having raw corn tonight is, okay, I'll be at name of a restaurant. Y'all enjoy your raw
I'm gonna go to
ass
Golden
corn.
Corral
No,
where
no.
they cook their corn.
That's right.
Well, no. Well, yeah, that's the real answer is like, no, you'll be having raw corn tonight. I will
Get
be
some-
cooking mine.
Yeah,
or
I'm gonna get some
ordering out.
corn mush soup or whatever. You go eat like a donkey.
now, I'll point out to our listeners, this has nothing to do with like, sorry, just a picture of the dad. He's popped up. Totally distracted me. This has nothing to do with like, role of the wife is to cook for her man or anything. You could swap
No,
genders.
The role
whatever.
of anyone is to cook food
Yeah, no,
when you're
it's
making food.
Like you could swap the genders, whatever. The point is, you don't just hand someone an ear of corn and then like get all like you're in the right when they try to butter and eat that shit and discover it's raw.
yeah.
That's a
you
foul.
should be telling people what you're feeding them before
Yeah.
you feed it to them.
Exactly.
I will say, somewhat in her defense, he had so much butter on that motherfucker. I'm surprised he noticed it was raw.
Mm. All right.
Yeah, that's a technical foul.
all right.
You're gonna kill somebody. It's raw.
So now we go back to hacking into Protovision.
Yeah.
So if I'm understanding this right, he called just to get all the area codes in the city he saw for the ad, and he's just like, I'm gonna have my phone call all of those
Yep.
and see what computers we get, and then I'll try to dick around with the computers from there.
Yep. In infosec terms, that would be referred to as brute force attack, or a form of a brute force attack.
Also known as telemarketing.
Well, there's that. But
Telemarketing
like,
is a brute force attack.
Yeah.
auto dialers did exist, and that was effectively like back in the day of BBSs. This is predating AOL. So before AOL even was a thing, BBSs were basically you'd host software on a computer. Your computer was hooked up with a traditional modem plugged into a phone line, and someone would dial in. And if a computer answered, you'd hear that a computer answered. It's like if you call a fax machine today, it makes that terrible noise and makes you wish you were deaf. So auto dialing did basically that. It was the precursor to Google in a certain way. You dial in a certain area and you just see what picked up and then take notes of what was human and what wasn't.
Yeah, I used to spend a whole bunch of time on bulletin boards as a kid.
Yep.
So he meets back up with Jennifer at the arcade, and she's like, on second thought, I do want to change my grade. And he's like, or did that for you, made it an A.
Right.
Which was a dumbass move in my opinion.
Yeah,
Like,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
that's a dead giveaway.
Too
Because
far.
originally
Yeah.
he set it to a C, and I was
Yep.
like, that's plausible.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
See, you do the C minus, play it safe,
Yeah.
and you're good. So
Not
anyway,
only do I not care about your opinion, I no longer care about the believability of this entire project.
so
Did you just play a clip?
Yeah.
yeah, so
All right. Also, I will say, apparently, whatever school they're going to, nobody pays a fucking attention because
Yeah.
Matthew Broderick gets good grades, at least passing grades or whatever, to the point where his parents are like, "Oh, congratulations, you did a great job," and whatever, despite the fact that he's going to the principal every day. You know, like
no, there's
no one
there-
paying attention.
there was a whole other end to that process, which like it's it's Hollywood shorthand for how you would do that.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
yeah.
okay, fine. But yeah, it ignores the reality of like the teacher knows he failed. The teacher,
Right.
I'm almost guaranteeing, has physical handwritten notes. Every time he got sent to the principal's office, there were notes. Just eyewitness reports, like you'd know something was off. And especially for an A, that
Yeah.
just doesn't.
So
No,
he would
that was
he
it.
would do this at the end of the year. There's ways to do it that, like you said, it's Hollywood shorthand. They would just
Mhm.
wouldn't like,
Yeah.
they didn't have time to explain it because it's not a major point. So
And to a
one
certain
thing
extent, I'm happy that they don't, because you
Mhm.
don't really want to empower people to do
Yeah.
malicious activity by telling them detailed step by
yeah,
step.
it's like making gunpowder. You can show people doing it, but you can't show what chemicals are involved.
Oh,
Um,
good. Didn't know that.
So anyway, he brings Ali Sheedy back up to his room, and she's like, shows her the whole scheme of calling every number, and I found out it's in Sunnydale, California, which is a big fucking mistake. If this was 2003, demons would come through that phone, and you'd have to call Buffy and Angel
Yeah.
to solve that problem. But
Well,
anyway,
Worse than that, he would undoubtedly download that one demon that would get into the Whopper, and then we'd all be fucked.
oh, Josh Whedon so hard. But anyway, so she's like, can't you get in trouble with this? And I like that he's just like, I mean, I would go to jail if I wasn't under 18. And
Yep.
yeah, the shit you can get away with as a kid.
Yep.
So anyway, so he hacks into, well, he's like, I can hack into
Good
a bank later, so I'll store that number. Then he's like, we go to Pan Am, make a reservation for Paris. And then he's like, all right, let's get into this game company. And, it's full of like all these like crazy combat games. And then it has like chess, Falcon's Maze, and then like global thermonuclear war. And he wants to get in. He can't get into any of them. He doesn't have the proper clearance. So he's like, I need to get help from some other hackers. So now he takes Jennifer with him to go meet Jim and Melvin. And
Just one quick tap back.
Yep.
The comments about things that you can get away with as a kid. I think it is true that if it is
Oh yeah.
mild enough, you'll be fine.
mhm.
But as soon as he started doing things like the bank, to a certain extent, it might have even been his grades, because he's falsifying his academic record, which has other implications. Those, I think they would
Yeah.
actually try you as an adult if it got to a
Well,
certain level.
I
Yeah,
think they
he's only
would
referring.
now.
Well, no, even back then,
Even
he's
back
only
then.
referring to the getting around not paying for long distance numbers and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
That would
that you
probably
might
be a
have been able-
misdemeanor
Yeah.
and would get away with nothing.
Today, not so much, but back
Yeah.
then, yeah, you probably would have been able to be okay, long term with that on your record. But
Depends who you
the
are.
bank, like that's
Yeah,
Fair
exactly.
enough.
now you're potentially you're violating federal laws because you're going across state lines and all kinds of other things. Like,
But
don't
if your dad
do that.
like writes a strongly worded letter about how sorry you are,
Yeah.
you'll only
Yeah,
do a few
that's-
months, and
You're-
like
and
the
famous.
girl
Also-
you raped behind the dumpster will just have to deal with it for
Yeah.
the rest of her life.
O-
Whatever.
only if you're rich and famous.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was
So
gonna
anyway.
say,
No, but then,
You're captain of the
all you do
football
is
team.
have your mom drive you across the border. To,
Oh God.
So anyway,
hey,
I like Jim's communication skills, because Melvin comes in and his voice is like immediately unacceptable. His behavior's unacceptable. You see Melvin and you're just like, I want this man to go away. Jim's
What
like,
is- Go
hey
ahead.
Melvin, you know how you wanted me to tell you when you're bothering me because you don't recognize when you're bothering people? And he's like, yeah. He's like, well, you're bothering me right now. Give me my friggin' piece of paper.
So
now
this
is
was
What
this
has
was
Jim
an
been
interesting
in?
case where it was almost like they were trying to be woke about like Asperger's and things like that,
Mhm.
but they were doing it with the sensitivity of blackface.
Well, yeah.
It
So
was really poorly depicted,
I
and
think at this point, like this was back at a time when like people with that issue were certainly around, but our understanding of that issue
yes,
was
absolutely.
not,
Yeah.
was so.
although is
yeah.
this like the most realistic depiction of actual hackers that we'll ever see in cinema?
Uh,
Ever? No.
I don't know, but
What
it's
about the
was it
movie
a-
Hackers?
Was their most
Oh,
accurate
yeah.
fiction of...
They're
I mean,
Angelina
like-
Jolie's all over the place, my friend.
Yeah.
I've known a couple of people from taking security classes that basically are white hat hackers. Like as a profession, they go in and do pen testing for companies and governments to make sure that their shit's secure. And they're just normal people. So I mean, realistic depiction, it could be literally anybody. And
You're
No.
kind of ruining my joke a little.
oh,
Yeah.
It's either
See,
fat
that-
guy or socially
that thing
awkward.
about like
He
taking
meant
things
normal
literal.
people. Normal people if you remove the layers of acne.
No,
Alright.
That's what he meant.
It just,
So-
Unlike in the movies, appearance doesn't always dictate people's abilities. You know.
So, basically, Jim's like, you want to, this program's not giving you what you want. You got to put it in its back door. Go, study this Falcon's Maze.
Joe, there's a woman
What's
here. You can't go just go talking about back doors.
Yeah. So, as sexist and exclusionary as it was, David was probably smart to leave her where he left her,
yeah.
because nothing good was going to come of that
Wait,
conversation.
That wasn't
if she was
exclusion. It wasn't him excluding her. That was him honestly being like, you don't want anything that's over
Yeah.
there. Trust me.
Okay,
So-
quick pause. Can we watch Mob Boss for one of our movies?
What?
Mob boss?
So that Eddie Deasing dude is a mob boss.
No,
Oh
no.
dear lord.
I mean, if we're gonna do that, let's watch Laser Blast. Let's watch any one of the other movies he was a part of.
I do want to
All
make one comment about back doors. That is
I'll
a
bet.
Brick is an
Yes, I
expert.
do. No, that is an actual, legitimate, very unfortunate thing
Oh, yeah.
that exists. Even
Everybody poops, Brick.
yeah. Well, unfortunately, this particular back door is a security back door with computers, and the story that I'm thinking about has to do with a company called RSA. And our own government decided to pressure RSA into weakening their own encryption algorithms so that it was easier to break into VPN connections. Now, these are corporate connections, these are home connections, any kind of system that used the RSA encryption algorithm, it was intentionally weakened for that purpose. Now, the
That's
backdoor
what-
was not like, what's that?
That's what the government was trying to get Apple to do a few years back.
Well, Apple, in that particular case, what they were trying to do was have Apple hack their own operating system. So there was not a backdoor, but
Right,
what they were trying to do was
when Apple
have
put
Apple
one in.
create a backdoor
Yeah.
and then send it as a wireless update to the device. And Apple appropriately was like, once you do that, it's out of the bag. Like it's you can't take that back. Once a backdoor is created, there's a backdoor. End of story. You have created a vulnerability and you have just acted unethically as a software company or as an engineer or whoever it was that did that. And yeah, it was shameful when I realized that our own country had done that to something that RSA put out. And I've used RSA tokens at work. I know many companies use RSA tokens for multi-factor authentication, and there's a long list of backdoors that our company has sponsored.
Let's not go through all of those.
Nope.
We'll be here for
I
a long
won't.
time.
Yep. No, I just
it's
wanted to
a-
make that one parallel.
Completely different podcast.
All right. So, Dave has missed a week of school studying this Professor Falcon guy. Professor Falcon seems to like to do things like snatch babies up into the air, duct tape wires to chess pieces.
So there was one moment during this where Jennifer asked how old he is, and he's like,
Oh,
41.
yeah, I
And
was
she's
gonna
like,
talk
"That's
about
old," and
that.
I was like, "Fuck you, that's not old."
Yeah. Same exact response for me.
Yep.
It was
Again,
like
though-
that.
Again, with the what the hell's happening? She's like, this dude's kind of hot. How old is he? Oh, he's not that old. Wait, that is kind of old. I'm like, what the
Well-
fuck is happening right now?
41 is old enough to die, according to the movie.
So,
Yeah.
so Tony, there is a concept that I'm not sure if you're familiar with. It's called sapiosexual, and it's people who are attracted to those who are effectively eggheads. Like
She
they're.
said looks amazing. She said she commented on his looks.
Oh, I know that she said that.
Yeah.
but I don't think she necessarily would have known that, because as soon as she found out that the Matthew Broderick was kind of like a witty person, she got interested in him. And then when she saw his setup in his room, she was like, "Oh,
She's known him for a while though, because like she knew his dog.
Yeah.
Okay." Yeah.
The first thing she's, oh hey Bo, like she knew his dog, like she knows him. They're friends already.
She's been stalking him for a bit.
Also, from the very moment she shows up, every other like sentence is or every sentence rather is punctuated with just giggles. So she is like either high as shit or really into him.
Well,
All right.
I'm not saying that she's not either of those things. I'm just putting that out there that could be a factor in it as well.
So I want to see him play with that fucking electric chessboard that he's building that has a curly
Wires.
like phone wire going to every single chess piece. It's not like it's a huge chessboard. You try moving like the fucking knight, over another piece and everything's entangled, or like pieces are going to be springing back from the other side of the board. Like I saw that and I'm like, this is your genius professor right there.
So this is another case where I would describe it as Hollywood shorthand, but this is actually one of the first things that I would describe as being ahead of its time. There is an algorithm that was developed that played thousands and thousands and thousands of games against itself.
But not with an electric chessboard.
Not with an electric chessboard. And then
Joe.
was used in a real game using computer vision to play a game of chess against the top chess masters of the world and beat all of them. Yeah. And I think one of the games that it played 4 different games at the same time, which for a human is totally not possible. Yeah. So
how awesome would it be? Just how awesome would it be if he's like, this is the most modern technology, and he turns it on, and it's like that old electronic football game where it just kind of shakes.
The chess pieces go across the board.
Well, I mean,
kind of slide around to each other.
When they first developed Pong as a video game, like that blew people away, and that was, now that we know what else is possible, that is not something to get worked up over.
Yeah.
All right. So basically, the long story short, this guy's got a son named Joshua who died, tragically at a young age, and he's like, boom, password, got it. So
sadly, that is a very common thing.
Yep. So he pops that password in, backdoors the shit out of, the Protovision, what he thinks is Protovision's new game lineup. And sure enough, he's now into the WAP.
Yeah. Tony, the common thing that I was talking about was doing passwords after your kid's name or your birthday.
He knows.
Oh, okay. Like, don't do that. For anybody listening, don't do that as your password. The hackers know about it.
So, yeah, Jennifer's there. They're like, check it out. Let's play this global thermonuclear war.
Can we just pause for a moment for the standard? Will needs to make as much noise as humanly possible.
I'm not
Will
doing anything.
Shoving the microphone into his mouth.
I'm not doing anything.
Into his back door.
Yeah, into his back door. All right,
just sitting here.
Well, I don't know who is then, but like,
I heard it too, so I don't think it was me.
Yeah. Anyway, their first strike is heading towards Las Vegas, so Mr. House was right to prepare in Fallout New Vegas. He knew what was up. So NORAD just starts going nuts, like ICBMs suddenly just pop up on radar. Everyone's like freaking out there, and then it cuts back to David and Jennifer, and they're all like cranked up on some fucking tab, and they're like, she's like, what is a trajectory? And he's like, I don't know, but look at all these numbers.
Oh, but worse than that, this is when she's like, yeah, nuke them. How about California, nuke them. Las Vegas, burn those motherfuckers. Like,
well, I was like, I don't
her
think
bad
they
grade
knew.
was in biology, not in fucking English. Like you know that word. Like, fuck you.
Yeah, I don't think they really fully knew what they were doing, because like later on they were like that. We thought we were playing a game. So
and we drank a preposterous amount of tab.
Oh, the tab.
Yeah. So at this point though, the world is spared further atrocities by Bo destroying the trash can outside. So he turns off he just turns off NORAD, basically. Like, he flips the power button, all the monitors go off, and NORAD's just like, what the fuck? And
that would not have happened.
Sleepy time.
But they do, like, this is the point where Dr. McKittrick's assistant, who's this kind of overweight, dumpy-looking gentleman, comes running into NORAD's control room and is like, it's a simulation! And they trace it to somewhere in the Seattle area. So...
Which I think they also targeted as a place to be nuked.
that was... They were like, let's nuke our own home after we nuke Vegas. So now it's the next day. David comes home. He's got his cool new report card. But his happiness is interrupted by, on the news, there's an alert that the whole government like scrambled all its bombers and subs and whatnot. And I'm like, why did they announce that on the news? Like, that seemed a little weird that, like, in 1983, that...
This is back when they overshared instead of, like, hiding everything.
Well, but, like, nobody would be observing the Strategic Air Command bombers, and then everything else, you wouldn't be able to tell that they scrambled.
I can't remember if they said that it was a false alarm or not. That's the only thing that I could think of, but I can't remember. They did say that on the news report.
Yeah.
Okay.
But,
okay.
Yeah, I don't know why that it would be on the news, but they just needed that plot device. So, wait. So David calls Jennifer and is essentially just like,
I'm gonna get in trouble.
Yeah.
And Jennifer's
I fucked up big time.
I'll come through the phone and slap you unless you get things under control here. All right, here's the deal. We won't talk about this, except I'm telling Michelle. And he's like, no!
Don't tell her.
So she's
This
like,
is honestly, I wrote in my notes, like, is she like a psychopath? Because she's way too calm for all of this.
I think at this point, Chelsea was like, she's a crazy person. So she's like, just burn your house down, throw everything out, and you're good. But
literally, she's the person like, we hid the body just fine.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Just don't freak out on me. We'll be cool.
Yeah, and like Whopper then calls David back and is like, yo, we're still playing this game and I'm winning. So like, come on.
Stop playing on my phone.
Don't fucking rage quit on my death match.
And I will note, computers do call back, because later in the movie they're like, computers don't call people, and I'm like, that's bullshit. BBS's back in the time to verify a phone number would call you back at your number to make sure that you weren't somehow spoofing it. So
either way, like, that's supposed to be real scary in 1983. And David's like, all right, fuck this, I'm going to 7-Eleven, and gets hit by like the least subtle ambush ever. And the FBI basically grabs him. And they're like, so you know what? We're gonna arrest you. We're gonna give you a cool tour of NORAD, and we're gonna take you to the infirmary, and we're not gonna. Well, we'll handcuff you for now, but we're losing those real quick.
We're gonna get you guarded by a guy that dressed like M. Bison.
Yeah.
All right,
M. Bison guard you.
All right, here's the shit I don't fucking get, right? So the computer director guy wants to talk to him at one point, brings him into his office, talk to him, right?
Yep.
He leaves this possible Russian hacker spy in his office with his computer unattended.
Why was the FBI just like, all right, you can bring him anywhere in NORAD you want?
Yeah, no.
Like, what the
fuck? In my notes, I said McKittrick would have been court-martialed within a half hour for having done something like that.
I mean, like,
the
good thing he
FBI
did
would be
movie-wise, because like we wouldn't have it, whatever. But like, what the fuck?
But the FBI would have been like, all right, well, a guy's following you wherever you two go.
Oh yeah.
And one other thing that I will note about the depiction of NORAD, that it took me a while because I was watching a movie before I realized that they left out kind of what I would expect to be a very common thing to see in NORAD: people with rifles.
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing any guns except for maybe at the gate where the guy was clutching a rifle.
Yeah.
And I was like, everywhere in NORAD, like every fucking right angle in that building probably has somebody who is armed to the teeth.
Yeah.
That is, I don't know if that's because movie or because of 1983.
I don't know.
It's still what, like, because that's an area where the guns would work because there's redundant people. So it could be like,
Yeah.
if you don't fucking do your job, this guy's going to shoot you, and the next guy's going to come in and do it.
Well, not only that, but if you do discover like there's even one person that's a spy in there, the amount of damage that they could do to national security is insane.
Yeah.
Like you don't fuck around in there.
So anyway, so now
Also, well, just to make you guys feel better, or perhaps make you feel better, in my notes, if we could go back to when he's attacked outside that 7-Eleven at the Ewok village there. Apparently that there we see in that scene there's a 7-Eleven, there's an Allstate building, and then there's a McDonald's. Apparently the 7-Eleven and the Allstate are still there. That McDonald's has since closed.
Oh, all right. Well, I mean, they shouldn't have changed.
Thanks,
the fucking
IMDb
Whopper
trivia.
recipe.
a few weird things I noticed too in that scene. His big gulp does not have a lid, and a big gulp of that caliber would collapse under its own fatness without a lid. But the guy who takes it from him handles it as you should with a drink of that caliber. He's just like, ew, like he's handling it like it's evidence he's going to contaminate. I just found his face funny. So anyway, so on the way for this McKittrick guy to talk to David, he takes his gum out of his mouth because the Secretary of Defense is there. Hands it to his wife/assistant, who just shoves it in her mouth and keeps going.
Yep.
So the FBI,
Different
Secretary
times,
of
my
Defense,
friends. Different times.
General Behringer, everyone's at this meeting, and General Behringer's like, "Hey, your system sucks."
Like he literally says that.
Yeah. And now he's got a great grin on his face watching McKittrick like squirm under like, oh, that computer that was supposed to be an ultimate failsafe is fucking lying to us, and immediately got hacked by the Russians.
Yeah, by a high schooler.
Yeah. So
right. Best case is the Russians. Worst case is some fucking high school kid who was just fucking around and got in.
Yeah. So NORAD is what's called air gapped. There is no and most like actual military systems on especially a secret location, they would be air gapped. So there's no way to contact them. So from a security standpoint, there were multiple things wrong with their security posture, but anyway.
So now like you get this scene in the office where basically McKittrick, after being kind of cool to him on the walk through NORAD, is now like, all right, so you're working with the Russians. I know you got a flight to Paris. I'm going to let my phone ring forever to torture you and all the viewers. And then he answers the phone and someone's like, oh, you got to go come over here and do a thing. So he's like, all right, I will leave you unattended in my office with my computer.
He literally says, stay put.
Yep.
Or don't go anywhere or something like that. It's not going to do that.
Like, if you honestly suspect him of being a threat, you should probably treat him like he's a threat.
Yeah. So now they're going to DEFCON 3. Because there's Whopper's still doing its thing. There's bombers and stuff coming to attack the country, according to NORAD. And
I will say that changing the DEFCON level, I was reading, that is done by the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Yeah, you can't.
Not by
General Behringer can't just be like, do it. Because like some of those DEFCON states come with declarations of war.
Yeah.
Or we're at war now. So like I noticed when they go to DEFCON 1, I'm like, DEFCON 1, you're at war.
Yeah.
Like there's you don't just casually flip to that. But anyway, so yeah, he hacks into Whopper again, and Whopper's like, oh yeah, I'm still playing this game. I'm doing good. When I get to DEFCON 1, I'm going to get the missile codes and launch all the missiles. So David's like, fuck. But now McKittrick's secretary sees him, it's like, there's kids in the adult books. Scrambles to FBI, who run in there, grab him, and they're like, oh, you're not going to the brig? You're going to the infirmary? Like, NORAD has to have a brig.
I wrote that down too. Like, I don't care how much they think that they let people in that they can trust. You're gonna have a brig in a facility like that.
Yeah. My question is, how come the infirmary has button locks on the doors, like keypad locks on the fucking doors?
Yeah. I mean, technically it's a plot device because he later hacks that. But there's other problems with that too. Like a keypad digital lock, it's not going to go by touch tones. So like we were talking before about using touch tones to do freaking on pots. You wouldn't do that on a keypad. You would basically you would either complete the circuit, which is effectively what the integrated circuit would be doing as it's receiving key presses. It would send a command out once it received the correct code. You just basically say, okay, I'm sending the command out, or I'm shorting together these two, like a fail-safe override kind of thing. He also wouldn't have been able to figure that circuit board out just by looking at it. Like, it's not like there's a standard, like everybody uses these and everybody has them in their home. So yeah.
Let it go, smart kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So also the security has other liabilities. Like they put fucking Sergeant Boob Grab, who looks like M. Bison and is completely infatuated with the nurse here, like in charge of guarding this kid. And he guards him for like 5 seconds.
Oh yeah. He's locked in a room. He's fine.
Yeah.
This kid's plot armor was sexual harassment. That's what got him out of this.
So did anybody else, when they first saw him, feel like the first thing that he said should have been in a French accent?
Well, yeah, he had a very French look about him.
Okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't just me. All right.
Yep.
And I don't know why I had that reaction, but like it
I
just
could see that, yeah.
Anyway.
So this lecherous ass guard is so devoted to like harassing the shit out of this nurse after she tells him like you are making me uncomfortable.
And I would like you to leave.
Yeah, and
She
I would like you to
explicitly
leave.
answered that question. Yes,
It would have made more sense if he went too far and she told him to leave and he left, and that's why he doesn't have to worry about getting past the guard.
Mm-hmm.
Or if she knocked him out.
Yeah. But like if she just cracked him with the tennis trophy, how funny would that be?
That would have been great.
But anyway, so he just sneaks out of the infirmary because Sergeant Boob Grab isn't looking at him, and Deus Exes this shit, finds an air shaft, sneaks in some utility, like all the doors are locked, but the air shafts, those are fine. Sneaks down a ladder and is just in the control room, and he gets out and he's like, well, I mean, this is the only other set they have. They have an infirmary, they got a control room, so I guess the air shaft goes there.
Right.
So
he followed the map, and the map was named plot device.
Yeah. And so he links up with the tour group there because they're just giving tours of NORAD that day that like potential missiles are being fired.
That did used to happen. There used to be tours of NORAD, but I think you had to be invited to a tour group by somebody.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't just open to the public or anything, but I also wanted to note that scene, like a bunch of different things, they did do a hat tip to legitimate hacking techniques. That is an example of social engineering. And one of my instructors for security courses, that's a technique that he used. Like it's called gating, where you walk into a building that has a secure key code on it right behind somebody else who opens the door. That's why anytime you work at a facility like that, always make sure that somebody coming in behind you, like if you let them through, that's on you, first of all. That's your responsibility.
That's how you get Broadricks.
That's how you get Broadricks. And second of all, what I've done at work, if I don't recognize a person, I will make sure that I get to the door and close it before that other person gets there, so they're forced to use their key card. Even if you recognize them, it might have been somebody who was just let go and they're about to go and do something. So gating is like an actual thing that even today still gets people in when they do like pen testing. And the story that this particular instructor told me, he had basically a big gulp. He had this gigantic ass drink. It was in the morning rush hour. He went right into, I forget which telco company it was, but he went right into the telco company. And then for the rest of his day, he was actually walking around the building, slurping his big gulp, like shoulder surfing, looking at what was on people's screens and taking notes and and nobody stopped him because they didn't ask, like, who are you and what the hell are you doing
acted
here?
Like he belonged there.
Exactly. And that's exactly what Broderick did in this scene.
Also, if I could just say though to the people out there listening, it's not the end of the world. You can like call the Orkin Man, or there's other things you can do if you have a brood infestation. We had one back at the house when we were younger, but we got them taken care of.
But if you let that shit fester,
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, they'll destroy the house.
It gets worse and worse.
Oh yeah, because then you
so-
start getting Godzilla level Broderick.
Yeah,
and nobody
it's-
wants that.
It's awful. All right, so fucking he escapes NORAD through his tour group, and like I mean I get it, he's got to get out of there, but it's like so they're still having the tour the day that there was this glitch that like missiles are being fired and whatnot.
Yep.
You know, and that they have a suspected Russian hacker.
I do like that they mention like,
It's like
how
sorry,
fucked up
tour's
that is.
canceled.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does.
I feel like
actually
they mentioned
comment on
that.
Yeah.
But it's still like, yeah, why would you be doing this? That is stupid.
Yep.
Yep.
So and then when they notice he's missing, like they don't stop the bus. Like
Yeah.
but anyway, so all of that could be fixed with little like minor changes to the plot. So he finds out basically that he's got to find Dr. Falcon is pretending to be Dr. Robert Hume, and he gets out of NORAD. He finds a piece of metal on the road, touches that to the right spot in a phone booth to avoid having to use a quarter.
The piece of metal was a pull tab from a can, which would be aluminum and would not conduct shit.
Yeah,
Let it
Unless
go.
you're
Let it
using
go.
it on your
Shit.
mains, but just saying.
Yep. So either way, he calls Jennifer. He's like, "Yo, buy me a plane ticket to Oregon." And
So,
now, what's that?
Again-
so when they booked the stuff to Paris, they
Yeah.
showed the price tag was like $1,000.
Mhm.
Now, this plane ticket that he just asked a high schooler to order was a domestic flight, but even still, flights today are not $1,000.
Yep.
They are comparable to domestic flights. So I can only imagine that this ticket that he asked her to buy is still going to be triple digits. And when I was growing up, I didn't know any kid that just spontaneously had triple digits hanging around
yeah.
in high school to buy a plane ticket that day.
I gotta blame this on the fact that like he's like what 17 or something. He apparently
both are.
he lives in this nice house. He's got his
Yeah.
own room. He could lock with his own bathroom and his own computer in 1983. So he's a spoiled little rich kid. He probably doesn't realize most people don't have plane ticket
Yeah.
money when they're
I guess.
17.
Well, Jennifer also has her own motorcycle at 17, so her family probably has money.
Yeah,
But
but
anyway.
apparently she's set for it. She's ready to help him out.
So NORAD is now tracking 22 Typhoon subs approaching the U.S., which is that would not be good.
Sean Connery's coming over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's Sean Connery and 21 friends are coming by.
Yep.
So now we cut back to David here, who gets met at the airport by Jennifer. She's like, "Surprise! I'm coming on the adventure too."
So she bought 2 tickets.
Yep. And they take a ferry.
Well, three,
they-
one to get there, and then
Yep.
But
So
anyway,
she's
So-
rolling in it.
yeah.
So they catch a ferry, and on the ferry, David's again like, and she's like, just fucking kiss me and shut up.
All right, wait. I will say, in his defense here, he is like, holy shit, the FBI is after me. I
Yeah.
might have ended the world. Things are fucked.
And I just broke out of NORAD.
Yeah.
Everyone's got problems.
This is one of those moments where like the whole thing was just unnecessary. There was no reason
Yep.
for them to have to kiss in that moment because
Yeah.
it was awkward.
Yes.
Like
there is that.
Their faces are awkward in it because like it doesn't really fit. But like
Yep.
the timing's awkward. He's like legit freaking out. If she's like,
Yeah.
now it's my time to
Yeah.
kiss him on his cheek. Like what? Like what?
I just killed a bunch of sand people. Let's have sex.
Yeah, like what? Like,
So, all right, it just transitions from makeouts to a random pterodactyl, and you're like, wait, did we just go to a different film?
Yep.
Did they land on the Lost Island?
Rob was like, yes.
Speaking of, is
Yeah.
Rob still here?
Yeah, I'm still here.
All right.
I did have
So-
in my notes that
I've had
like,
nothing to add.
back in the day, drones weren't really a thing, and like there weren't batteries that were good enough to be able to power like even remote controlled airplanes. So
It was a
that
glider.
thing, well, was it a glider?
there was no propellers, but all it had on it was flaps to adjust.
yeah.
It was just
Okay.
a glider.
So
Oh,
maybe
okay.
they.
Because I was gonna say, like, that thing, like, even as a glider, it must have cost a huge amount of money. But
Did you see
Okay.
his house and his
Yeah.
dinosaur
Well,
skeletons?
yeah, I mean, he's
I'm gonna
rolling
say-
in it, but
He does not know how it flies. That's why he was looking for a paleontologist when they walked up. So
Rob, don't be surprised if you see a pterodactyl-shaped present under your Christmas tree this year.
I'd be surprised if I see anything under my Christmas tree.
yeah.
A bag of lemons.
So
So
Doctor-
Rob,
Oh,
how excited were you at this guy's house, inside his house?
I was the most excited.
Also, since he already lied about which doctor his name is once, do we believe he might be Dr. John Hammond as well?
No,
Where's the flea
Alright.
circus?
he was
So-
not jolly enough.
yeah. Basically, he's like, get off my land. They're like, all right, so Joshua's going to blow up the world. He's like, all right, come inside. I'm going to show you some film about dinosaurs and why we should just give the fuck up.
Right. He's like,
Yep.
hey, you all need to know that life is meaningless and nothing matters. It's all stupid, and I hate everything
Yeah.
except my comfy leather chairs and my
And
cozy
dinosaurs.
fire and all my dinosaur toys.
well, like he basically that was the start of this really starting to affect me when I saw his reaction. This most recent time, I think when I first saw it, I was like, "What the fuck? Like, you never give up like that." I was basically Ali Sheedy's character when I was younger, but now I'm like, the conversations he must have been involved in, he must have been like, it's gonna happen, and I know how it's gonna happen. Like he explicitly said, like, I intentionally got this plot of land near a target
Yeah.
so that I don't have to suffer fallout.
Yeah.
And
I live here so I can die first.
so I could die first. Like he had resigned himself to, in his mind, the reality that this was inevitable. And I know a lot of people that that had that kind of mentality must have existed back then, because every day, like, you were kind of concerned about it. Like, they were doing those drills where you do that stupid put your head under your desk
Duck
in
and
school
cover.
thing. Like, it was we were that much at the brink. And the conversations that guy must have had, like McKittrick literally said in the beginning of the movie, like, he didn't realize the full extent of the things that he invented, referring to Falcon. So even Falcon's own assistant was like, no, you should totally automate all of this. And Falcon was like, that's how you end the human race. Like, no. And
But on the
people
other
did
hand,
it anyway.
here's also a conversation he had. Yes, I'd like to order a pterodactyl remote control flying
Oh,
toy,
yeah.
please.
Well, I mean, you're going to enjoy your end days
And
in
one
the
of
way that
those-
you'd like.
Bitching wooden T-Rex skeletons.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah,
That's
just
right.
get all of that.
Make sure it's extra bitchin'.
That's right.
So, all right. One important point that does get brought up in this conversation, though, is he's like, I could never get Joshua to learn. And then he uses the tic-tac-toe analogy of, like, you know, he can't understand futility. But I did mention tic-tac-toe, foreshadow the shit out of the ending. So now Jennifer and David basically leave because he's like, I'm going to bed. I guess we'll die. You could stay the night.
Yeah.
You know, you could sleep on the floor. He doesn't even, he's like, not the chairs.
Yeah,
no.
not the chairs,
Floor.
not the couch.
I want those
floor.
chairs pristine for when the bombs hit.
Yeah. So they're like, fuck it, let's try to find a boat. And they're like, this asshole doesn't even own a boat, lives on an island. So, you know, they're like, let's swim for it. No, it's too far. Let's, you know, sit
She's
on
like,
this
yeah,
log
let's-
for a while.
Let's swim for 3 miles
Yeah.
at night.
And then they're like, fuck it, let's just make out. And then, like, Dr. Falcon comes back with the airborne cock blocks.
Now,
like,
now,
shines
hold
spotlight
on a
there.
second. Hold
What's
on
that?
just a second. Here's where we learn a little secret about our dear friend.
What did we learn?
He can't swim.
Yeah, oh yeah. That's
Oh,
right.
yeah.
He can't swim, and he's not willing to take the 2 minutes to learn. So he's
Yep.
not. It's just all over with.
All right. So,
Wait, thought he had more
was the
time
moment.
then.
He was like, he never learned how to swim because he figured there'd always be a chance to learn how to swim. But now that chance is going to be gone.
I
Usually in
will
the
also
pornos,
say-
it's like I always thought I was going to get some before I died, but now the chance is going to go, and then they'd have sex.
Yeah.
Like,
You watch a lot of post-apocalyptic porn, Brian?
I mean, that's the part of every porn movie, isn't it? Like,
What would be the
this
porn
would happen.
parody?
Now it's gonna happen. Let's make it happen. Like,
What would be
I
the
will
porn
say-
parody of this? WarGames?
Yeah,
When,
Yeah.
when I was learning how to swim, though, one of the best lessons that I learned was if you tense your muscles, you will sink like a rock. And if he's that freaked out, it would have taken him a lot longer than 2 minutes to learn how to swim because he would have sunk like a rock. And then he would have continued to do that because now he'd be freaking out about drowning and
good.
getting nuked to death.
Good.
I will also say this probably would have been a better point to not necessarily go in Brian's path of let's have sex, but like, you know, I've never even kissed a girl, and this is when they could have had their first kiss. That might have made more sense.
no, it's still awkward.
All right.
Well,
Oh,
here's
it's
when
so
Stephen,
The
here's when
whole
Stephen
thing's awkward,
Hawking
but that would have
comes
made more
in
sense.
his G.I. Joe helicopter.
Like, get the fuck in here. We're going to NORAD. And yeah, NORAD. Meanwhile, like, they go to DEFCON 1, which is exactly what Whopper was waiting for them to do. Because now he's like, I can start hacking these launch codes. And they go to lock down the mountain. But they're on the way in a Jeep. You know, our 4 heroes here. Well, 3 heroes and this one random driver. And yeah, they bust through the gate, and here's where we get that kind of sick ass crash from before.
What the hell,
That-
Jeep guy?
Yeah, if you did not know this was a legitimate crash, you'd be like, that was kind of underwhelming. But then you're like, oh, no, that's just because it just actually crashed.
Yeah.
Did not try
Well,
to jazz
it was
it up.
underwhelming, but at the same time, like, was that necessary? Did you need to crash the Jeep? Just go in.
Yeah, I was
This is
thinking that
so-
it was kind of abrupt and like unexpected, but yeah, I didn't realize that it was a real crash.
IMDb
So-
trivia said this is where Matthew Broderick learned to drive.
But
Did
not
it
where he
actually
learned
say
to
that?
swim.
No.
Okay.
Apparently
So-
he killed somebody or something, hit somebody with a car.
Okay. Yeah.
I did not know that. All right, so they go down the tunnel to NORAD. They go through the big old door, and I love that door that NORAD has. That's like the biggest, solidest door, and surprisingly, as gigantic as it is, and I think it weighs like 10 tons or something. One person can open and close it.
Yep. If you balance a door correctly, you can do that.
Those are some good hinges.
Yep. So
Yeah, where I live, there are actual doors that go over railroad tracks that can be used to mitigate flood damage. And these doors they're not quite as tall as the NORAD doors, but they're at least as wide. And they're probably a good foot and a half thick. And there's no motor on it. It swings closed.
So, Dr. Falcon basically runs into NORAD's control room, busts out his speech check. He's just like, look, General Behringer, this machine's lying to you. Why would the Russians just do this, knowing that we'd fire our missiles?
Also,
And he's like,
why are your teeth so disgustingly brown? Stop putting that
'Cause he-
chew in your mouth.
yeah, because you're shoving fucking chew tobacco in there like crazy.
So gross.
He's going to die by nicotine.
His
Yes.
teeth look like chocolate chips.
So,
Yeah.
basically, they're like, all right, check it out. We'll just let the supposed missiles that are coming towards the country actually hit. We'll call some people. We'll be like, hey,
Yep.
did you die?
Yeah,
Yes.
dead,
Yeah.
dead over there, man.
And they get freaking Airman Doetry, who's like, oh, I guess I'm in charge of Alaska.
He's like the Doogie Howser of a nuclear missile silo operator.
And this scene actually is legit intense, though, where you're
Yeah.
seeing like the missile impacts, and you're realizing just how fucking terrible this would be if this happened.
Yeah.
And seeing the whole United States basically get covered with these blasts. And NORAD's got some awesome subwoofers because every time these things hit, they're just like,
Yep.
and so then Behringer's getting ready to he's getting the counterstrike ready, but then they're like, Airman Doetry's like, oh, we're still here, Jesus H Christ, we're still here. But unfortunately, at this point, so they think they're saved, but Whopper's like, yo, I'm still hacking the launch codes, and you locked out all changes to the target trajectory,
Yeah.
so I have the firing solution in there. So I have everything I need to launch the missiles. I just have to get these 10 numbers for the launch codes. So everyone's like, fuck, what are we going to do?
What's funny is like 10 numbers isn't a lot.
Yeah.
Well, It is interesting if you were to break AES 256 encryption. Certainly, the length will help significantly, and that's why
That's
a
what
lot
she
of
said?
modern, yeah, length matters. That's why they recommend most modern passwords. 8 characters is way too small because the fastest supercomputers today could break that within a useful amount of time. But if you get to like 14 characters, I think the estimates are like at the hundreds of years.
Yeah, it gets much.
And yeah. And the other thing about breaking encryption, like another Hollywood shortcut, you don't get like, it's not Hangman. You're not going to
Right.
get like, oh, you got this character. No, it's all or nothing. You either get it or you don't. And there's no way to verify that
So-
you got it without trying it.
My question, like, what gets you around like the fact that you usually only get a limited amount of guesses before it locks you out?
If the system is designed to do
Yeah.
that. Not all of
Now
them
it's
are.
like that.
Yeah.
They might not have,
Okay.
have thought that way before. You know.
Oh, back then, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I
All
mean, on military computers they might have.
Right.
But yeah, back in the day, there wasn't even a requirement. Like Windows started requiring a password with 8, I think. Windows 8, possibly. Before that, you didn't even have to set a password.
Yeah. So now, basically, what's going on there? I like that the movie answers the question of like, why not just unplug the computer? Because they set it up so that it would think NORAD's destroyed and it would still
Yeah.
fire the missiles. Because
But
that was
they
the first thing
should've-
I thought.
They should have built in a kill switch though.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
to
there-
just bypass that.
There was one. It was the people.
Yeah.
Yeah. The kill
Yeah, I
switch
mean-
would have been triggered from NORAD, and if NORAD's destroyed.
And I mean the weakness with a kill switch, and that's why this whole concept is so freaking dangerous, is that the kill switch can be activated by a malicious actor. So if
Mhm.
it's a physical kill switch and you have a Russian in the room, you're done. If you've
Yeah.
got an electronically accessible one, it could be hacked. A Russian could even flip that switch if there was a way to make it prematurely fire missiles. Like all of that stuff, it's so freaking risky because it's like once it happens, you can't take it back ever, and it's such a huge risk.
Like herpes.
Like
So
herpes,
indeed,
yes.
yeah. So now General Behringer's just like, hey, Dr. McKittrick, your system fucking sucks. And he's like, I'm just gonna sit here and piss and moan. And then David's like, well, why don't we just try to play some games with Joshua? So he goes and he's like thinking about playing chess and all these other games that he's locked out of. And then he's like, oh, let's type in tic-tac-toe. So now, we play it in tic-tac-toe.
And it was
then he
interesting.
Mhm.
He explicitly said it's not in the list.
Yeah.
So that was like, I don't know why they put that in there. That was a weird part.
Yeah.
Well, because the Falcon dude had said before, like, you don't play tic-tac-toe because why? And she was like, well, because you can't really win it. So he was like, yeah. So why would you put it on the list? Like, now my question is, why would it even be in the system to begin with?
That's
But a game that
exactly.
simple takes up so little bit of
Yeah.
whatever. It probably was, like a catalog of games he put in there, like whatever,
Yeah.
It wasn't for it. It was for like him to or someone else to just play it to pass time, something like that. It was stupid.
They're lucky
I
that
think-
Whopper wasn't loaded with Hollywood squares.
Yeah,
Or-
I think the
Shoot
idea
Larry.
was I think the idea was it was a game that the computer could run, but it wasn't on the list for Jason to play
Joshua.
or Joshua, sorry, to
Joshua.
play to explain why it never learned the lesson of that it's not really a winnable game.
Okay.
So, Bob, like, this scene's cool though, because like they get it to play itself in tic-tac-toe, and it's going for a while. It's still hacking the codes, and it's realizing like, I can't win this. All right, so let's, so now it knows that okay, there are games you can't win. So now it starts like doing all these crazy like nuclear war scenarios, and legitimate to people who want to watch this movie, strobe warning, because this like for the next 5 minutes it's just blinking lights like crazy, and
And I did appreciate that they were talking about different like theater of war operations scenarios,
Mhm.
and they were named in a kind of very believable way, and just the realism of the scene was heart attack inspiring.
So it basically like like overpowers itself, like drawing all its energy to play like a bajillion games of global thermonuclear war. It gets the launch code, but it's like, yeah, but it gets the launch code, and it's like, let's hold off on that because I think I've got something now, and that's a cool part because
yeah.
So now you see it's figured out, like, okay, maybe we shouldn't play this game, and then sure enough, it goes through all the situations, and it's like an interesting game. The only way to win is not to play.
Yep.
And then he's like, "You want to play a game of chess?" And everyone's like, "Fuck yeah!"
Because chess doesn't kill people.
But yeah, also I will point out though a few points for Star Trek computers exploding in NORAD.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Luckily, it doesn't look like anyone got hurt.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, it's like, how about a nice game of chess? Everyone's like, yeah! And then it's over, like credits, boom.
Yep.
Cue
Yeah.
war.
No resolution.
Good God, yo, what is it good for?
Yeah, because that kid he's either going to jail or getting a job. So.
Yeah.
He's getting a job in jail.
I also like the answer here was to, the Falcon was right in that they have to learn futility.
Yeah.
It's an important lesson.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, I think it was more of the he realized that this game like you can't win it, so we shouldn't even be playing it. But like you guys won't fucking listen to me, so I'm just gonna go.
My favorite part of this scene, though, for the wrong reasons, is they're like all these guys in suits are arguing about what to do in this critical let's play video games with Joshua scene, and they can't like get to the game they want, and like everyone's like, that's all right, he's had enough. And then freaking Jennifer, just Ali Sheedy's character, is just like, wait, give him another turn. And everyone just listens to him.
Yeah.
It was like I believe him, yo.
And everyone just stopped talking and like, we're like, okay, give him another turn.
Well, that's because the shot was more on her face, so you couldn't see the gun she was holding on them.
Yeah, I'm like,
because that girl is nuts.
Did she roll a 20 on her charisma check? Like, what the hell happened there? But anyway, yeah, and that's the movie. That's WarGames.
Yeah.
Tony.
Yeah. So on RottenTomatoes.com, critics gave this a score of 93%. Audience gave this a score of 76%. That's their thoughts and opinions. What about you guys and yours? We'll start with Rob.
I don't know about mines, but yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's very 70s-y, 80s-y. So if you're not into looking at a bunch of clunky computer boxes, you might find this not as interesting. But it held my attention the whole time. It had some good dramatic moments, some good suspenseful moments. And it had a pterodactyl flying around for a little bit. So I'll recommend it on those grounds. Even Matthew Broderick with his Will Byers looking ass was fine in this. So there you go.
Brian.
Yeah, so as an adult now, a C is about right. There are things that were a little bit suspenseful or whatever. The music kind of helped some scenes. But like movies is fucking long. It's like 2 hours long. Like
yeah,
it is very long.
Yeah, like I think if it had condensed some of the stuff down, but then maybe it would have lost some of his message. I don't know. But like it was a little bit too long for me, and like there wasn't enough happening closer together. You know, things would happen kind of far apart. But it wasn't a bad movie. You know, I still enjoy the movie, but a C is about right. You know, so it gets past. You know, I'd watch it again, but like it would need to be a while from now, so I have the chance to realize, like, so I can like keep my focus on it versus like other things around me, because it's a little bit long.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the same. With the I feel like a C does seem pretty accurate. It is surprisingly suspenseful considering how little is happening, and way too long for how little is happening. But it does manage to keep it somewhat suspenseful, despite the fact that there's not that much happening. It's not like The Net where they're like trying to make it look like it's the most tense thing in the world because someone's typing in a password. But they do, there's real suspense here. There's real stakes. So yeah, it's pretty good, and I would recommend it. Will.
Yeah, so I think actually I'm gonna recommend it a bit more than y'all so far, at least. Maybe give it a B-. Maybe that's because it's my first time watching it, but I was surprised that I enjoyed it as much as I did. I will say the length was an issue. I kind of spread it out over a couple days. I watched some last night. I watched some this afternoon. But yeah, I was it's obviously dated, being early '80s, and I don't know. Sometimes when a movie's so popular and in the I don't know, in kind of the nerd realm, sort of known so well, sometimes that can work against it. But I there wasn't anything I really was spoiled by, I guess, because like you said, there is some tension. And that first scene we talked about at the beginning of the episode was really kind of set the tone and really kind of locked me in. It was like, okay, this is going to be a little more serious than what I was originally thinking. So I definitely enjoyed it, and solid recommend from me.
Right. Joe.
Brian, are you watching the movie right now?
Yeah.
You're at the part at the end, right, with all the nuclear
Yep.
silos in it? Because your room's it's like a strobe light going off. Yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna disagree with most of you. I'm gonna go with a solid B. I think the length was not a problem at all. An hour 52 minutes goes by reasonably quick for me. I liked it for the most part. I thought I liked the computer stuff, even though some of it was portrayed kind of wrong and it was condensed down, like Brick mentioned, with the Hollywood shorthand. I liked that the concepts were mentioned, and I liked the backdrop of the nuclear war and the comparison of the futility part, and showing the computer learn was really cool. I liked how it put that in like a very easy to understand way. So I think it had a lot of positives going for it. I loved NORAD and like that mega project, so I like a movie set mostly there. Some negatives though, like there are some parts where they sort of easy moded it a little too much for Matthew Broderick, where it's like that it wouldn't have been that easy for him to like just walk out of NORAD, stuff like that. And I would like better characters. Like I didn't like David or Jennifer, and like Dr. Falcon, I thought was somewhat interesting, but like we didn't get to spend a lot of time with him. The only character I really liked was General Behringer, and that was mostly because I was because of Barry Corbin. I was having flashbacks to Red Alert 2. But yeah, overall though, I think 92 is a little high, but I definitely think it was better than 76. So I'm going to split the difference between the two and go with a solid B.
That sounds right. And yeah, the message is good. Brick, safe to say you're recommending since you recommended this?
Like, no, I fucking hate it.
No, it's terrible. No, I feel like if you're not into the subject matter being covered, be it global politics, nuclear war, or just general like infosec kind of stuff, you're probably going to be bored as an adult. As a kid, I almost wonder like when I was growing up, when we were in middle school, they would show us movies that were kind of curated to show either like the Civil War era or other things. I almost feel like this should be part of that curriculum, because it's like a lot of these things, like I was saying, a lot of these things are actually real things that have happened, like that close call and the fact that NORAD exists. And, if you're wondering why I say that, they're going to survive. You're in a stick house. You're not. Like, those are the people that you are calling your government, and Russia had fallout shelters for most of their population. We didn't. And those are the kinds of questions that I, as a kid, would be asking, seeing this movie. Same thing with like, why do we even have nukes? So I think, depending on the context, if you're an adult, I would give it like an 80 to a 90. If you're a kid, I almost want to be like, you should watch this movie, because when you grow up, like, you're going to be part of the society, and these are the kinds of things that you can influence for good or bad. And it's legitimately scary. Like I said before, if you do that and you start nuclear war, you can't take that back. And the way that it conveyed a lot of these concepts to the viewers, it was very neatly packaged, not in such a way where it's like a caricature of the realities. Like people mentioned, there were legitimate suspenseful scenes in this. So it conveyed the emotion without being too dug into the details of how these things work, but it was real enough for most of the parts of it, the hacking, just the concerns about espionage and all that other stuff, where like it starts you down a path of thinking about things in a useful, practical manner. So that's kind of my take on this movie. I think it actually is a value. I would describe it as an important movie or a valuable movie to watch, with those contexts in mind.
So would you also recommend Superman 4, The Quest for Peace?
I have not seen it, so I can't comment.
No, you did. You watched
did?
it with me. Yeah, you were quite mad.
Is that the one where he turns time back because he goes around the planet?
No, that's the first one.
That's the one where he just tells the world that he's taking away all the nuclear weapons and everyone's like, yay! And then they make Nuclear Man, who's actually solar powered man, and they fight on the moon. That's the one where he pushes the moon to make an eclipse to turn Solar Man off.
So that's an example of where it's not so caricaturized that it's stupid, because now I'm remembering that Superman movie that was just stupid.
Yeah.
This wasn't caricaturized.
Yeah,
it was simplified enough that you could consume it without really having to know all the details.
That was just a joke.
Oh. Remember before where I said I take things literally?
Yeah,
That was your fault, Tony.
That's my own fault. I know.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, we're gonna recommend WarGames. What else we got, Rob?
I don't know. Some stuff we'll have to discuss off the air, but in the meantime,
Okay.
we're gonna wrap up the episode. First of all, we want to thank Eric for sponsoring the episode and joining us to record. And we want to thank all of you guys for listening. If you want to hear more, you can find our episode archives at www.4ampodcast.podbean.com. You can find all of our episodes there. You can support us by picking up some merch at teespring.com/4ampodcast. You know, keep yourselves toasty, roasty, warm during these colder
Especially
months.
if you don't have heat in your house.
That is correct. You can help support the podcast and get access to patrons-only content at patreon.com/4ampodcast. You can, of course, contact us at the 4ampodcast@gmail.com if you're interested in sponsoring an episode of your own. You can follow us on that tire fire that is Twitter or Facebook. And that's about it. Join us next time for something else.
Yeah.
All right, good night.
That's all I got. Say goodbye, everybody.
Hello.
Deuces.
Adios.
Good night, everybody.